Hello and welcome to Shattered Lives, Reach Ireland's crime podcast. I'm Michael O'Toole and I'm joined as ever by Paul Healy. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Michael.
So this week we're going to be talking about what we talked about last week, which is the ongoing trial of Richard Satchwell. Mr. Satchwell is charged with the murder of his wife Tina at the family home in Youghal in County Cork in March 2017. He denies the charge and is currently on trial at the Central Criminal Court in front of a jury of 7 women and 5 men, and the trial judge is Mr. Justice Paul McDermott. Now, if my maths are correct, we had 3 days of evidence last week and 4 days of evidence this week.
Yes, 7 full days of evidence, yeah.
Okay, so we've come up with a plan. We're sort of going to go forward to go back. So the first piece of evidence we're going to hear today, Paul has been covering the case since it started, and he was in court today. So we're going to talk about today's evidence, and then when that's done, we'll go back to Tuesday and go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, so just to kind of give people, I suppose, an overview of what we will be talking about today, because an awful lot of the evidence was in relation to interviews with Richard Satchwell, the accused. So at the start of the week, it was an interview in 2021, a comprehensive, lengthy, nearly 4-hour interview. And then today, the latter half of an interview with Mr. Satchwell upon his arrest in October of 2023. So we propose to talk about today's evidence because I'm sure people want the latest information. So obviously, Mr. Satchwell, he denies the murder of his wife, Tina, at the home in Grattan Street in Youghal. In October 2023, Gardaí went into that house and searched it and found Tina Satchwell's remains. They were found under the stairwell of the home in a kind of a grave behind a red brick wall. And today we heard a lot of detail about that find and about that search for the first time. But before that, we got the latter half, as I said, of this interview conducted with Richard Satchwell around the same time, at the same time as this search in the house in October 2023. So Mr. Satchwell was arrested on suspicion of the murder of his wife Tina at the home in Grattan Street in Youghal on the 10th of October 2023, and he was conveyed to Cove Garda Station, where he was interviewed in an interview room, and we were then shown a video of this interview. So everyone in court could see Mr. Satchwell on this video sitting in a chair. He's wearing a black t-shirt and grey trousers, and he's sitting on one end of the room, and the 2 Gardaí who are questioning him are sitting on the other end of the room, and one member of the investigating team was actually getting up and walking around the room as he spoke to Mr. Satchwell, and that was Detective Sergeant David Noonan.
And just for context, I believe the vast majority of Garda interviews, if not all, are now audio-visual recorded.
Yes, so we were told this was all recorded on DVDs and audio recording as well. And there's obviously a member, the other member in this interview is taking down everything that Mr. Satchwell is saying. So on Thursday, yesterday, we heard quite a bit of the interview, but today, the latter half of that interview basically was... So they had gone through in quite a level of detail Mr. Satchwell's movements on the 19th, the 20th, and the following days after he said his wife Tina had gone missing. At this point now, he is under arrest on suspicion of the murder of his wife, and he has been cautioned, and he says that he understands that caution. So Detective Sergeant Noonan was asking Mr. Satchwell a variety of questions, but we could sit here all day and talk about the entire interview, but it was quite forensic and lengthy in detail, 2 hours and 47 minutes. So we were in the interview, and he was being asked about the search, that he knew the search was going on, that his house was being dug up, and at this moment in time, he was being shown photographs that had been taken by the Garda Technical Bureau at the scene. So live photos that had just been taken and were being shown to him in the Garda station. So he was shown these photographs, and we saw them in court. There is a photo of the stairs, and you can see a red brick wall, and you can see what was described by Detective Sergeant Noonan as a cubby hole. And in this was another hole, the start of the Garda excavation of the ground in the hole under the stairs. he was asked by the detective sergeant, "What do you keep in there?" And Mr. Satchwell said, "Bits and pieces." He was shown the hole inside the cubby hole, and he was asked, "Any idea what that is?" And he said, "No." He remained silent then as he was shown a further photo of the hole under the stairs. We were then told just after this, his maximum detention period had run out and he was released from Garda custody at 4:49 p.m. But the search of the house continued at that time. So Mr. Satchwell was given a new mobile phone. He was given accommodation for the night, and that was the end of a 2-hour 47-minute. Sorry, that actually was the interview the following day. I'm mistaken. That was the interview on the morning of the 11th. But we had watched the entirety of the 2-hour 47 interview the previous night on the 10th of October when he was first arrested. And I'm going to go into some detail about what we heard on that today as well. So Detective Sergeant Noonan was asking Richard Satchwell about his mindset on the days after he said his wife had gone missing, so the 21st through to Friday the 24th, when he said he eventually left the house and went to Fermoy, went to the doctor, called into some relatives to see if Tina was there, and then he went to the Garda station to report her missing. He said, "Pardon my language now, but what the fuck is going on? Where are you? Why would you do this? Why won't you let me know where you are?" So that's what he said was going through his mind at the time about his wife. He said all kinds of things go through your head. It's not one specific thing. Like I said before, she was crying over... Was she crying over walking away over the 30-year relationship? So I'll come back to this, but Mr. Satchwell had described earlier in the interview his wife being upset the night before she went missing on the 19th of March, and that she was crying into him, and he was thinking to himself about whether she was upset because of her depression or whether she was upset because she was about to leave him.
And I think he also referenced rumours that his wife was possibly having an affair.
Yeah, so I mean, this came up in prior interviews, and he was asked about this again, and he said, "Honestly, I've said it before. I can't turn around and blacken her. Even when her sister Lorraine said there was a rumor she was seeing somebody, I said no, it isn't like her. But then again, what is like her? Because I would never have put her down as doing this," he said. He was then asked about the alleged violence. So in the 2021 interview, he spoke about his wife, Tina, being violent towards him, and he's being asked about it now again in this interview, 2023. He spoke about what he said was a personality change in his wife in 2012 when her brother Tom died by suicide. He said, towards me, it went, "I want to fucking leave you," to "I fucking hate you," and then she'd apologise. He was asked by Detective Sergeant Nugent, "How did this make you feel, Richard?" And he said, "Not good, miserable." He was asked about his sexual relationship with Tina, which he said he never took sexually with Tina again after her brother died in 2012. He was again asked, "How does this make you feel?" So he said in response to that, "Now that's personal, but it made me feel useless. I never pestered her for sex at any point in the relationship, though," he said. He said that they weren't sexually active at any point in their relationship, and he spoke about having children, that Tina didn't want to have children, and that he did want to have children, and they spoke about that as well. He was asked about his sex life prior to Tina Satchwell, and he said that he had once had sex prior to being in a relationship with Tina, but he hadn't been in a relationship with anyone else before. He was asked about his friendships, and he was initially uncomfortable to answer this, and he consulted with his solicitor. He ultimately said that there was nothing to tell, that he had friends now, but not then.
And they spoke about, I think the question of money, dole payments were raised then.
Yeah, so he was asked about the dole payments, and he said, in general, about the finances in the house, and he said that his wife used to pay the bills and that she would send him shopping and that she would spend the rest. He said to the detective, "Now, before you look at me weird, that's the way that it was with my parents." went back to the violence issue again, and he was asked how he would classify violence, because he had said in the 2021 interview that he had been struck by his wife hundreds of times in the relationship. So he was asked about slapping and how frequently that happened, and he said, well, he wouldn't have classified a slap as violence, and he said that a slap from a woman can be sexy. It might make me weird. But he said, violence to me is not when it's a slap. A slap is nothing. And he spoke about bite marks that he received over the years, having to go to the doctors over what he described as violence from his wife. He was asked whether there was any more violence in the lead up to her disappearance, and he said other than giving him a kick, he never really took much notice to it. Now, he had mentioned prior that his wife in either December of 2016 or January of 2017, 2 months before she disappeared, that she had thrown a lamp at him, and that was the last incident of violence that occurred. He also mentioned the swelling, the black eyes, the scrawls that he received over the years, and to him, that's what he would describe as violence. We further then heard, so that was the portion, the end kind of portion of the video interview, and then we stopped watching a video, and we were then listening to Geraldine Small, the senior counsel for the prosecution, read out a transcript of the interview that began the following morning, and it began at 25 minutes past 8 in the morning of October 11th. Mr. Satchwell was told that his detention period had been extended, and this was when certain things were put to him in relation to claims that he'd made over the years. So Detective Sergeant Noonan told him that he wanted to be honest with him, that this was obviously a murder investigation, and that they had gone and spoken to many of the people that he had mentioned over the years. So Richard Satchwell mentioned a John Keown and a friend of Tina Satchwell's by the name of Angela, for example, and he had made statements in the media and to Gardaí about what these people had said. So he described Angela as Tina Satchwell's best friend, for example, that they often spoke to each other but didn't have each other's numbers. This John person who he met in the car boot sales, and John made a comment to him. He said that Tina would never want to do anything to hurt him, that she loved him. Both of these people were spoken to by Gardaí, and Detective Sergeant Noonan told Richard Satchwell that both of them denied the claims that he was making about them, that they said that they never made them. In the case of John, he said that Richard had said that to him. And in the case of Angela, although Richard Satchwell described Angela as Tina Satchwell's best friend, and he was asked to rate that friendship and described it as a 10 out of 10, Angela did not agree that that was the case, that she wasn't that close to Tina Satchwell. So it was being put to Mr. Satchwell that he had painted this picture of himself and his wife and their relationship, and that these people that he'd spoken about are now gone from his story. So Detective Sergeant Noonan said, you've painted this picture and it's on this wall over here, and on this wall over here is the evidence, is the wall of truth, is what he said. And he was saying that these people are now gone from your side and they're over here with the evidence. He spoke about the fact that Richard Satchwell had spoken a lot about his movements, and he was informed that after seizing his devices, his mobile phone, that Gardaí were able to track through Google Maps his movements on the days of the 19th, 20th and onwards. And he said, in fairness to you, so he mentioned in particular his movements on the Friday when he said he went to Fermoy and he went to the Garda station, that the map data does correlate with what he had told Gardaí. And he was asked, does that seem right to you? And he said it did. So he was confirming that the data did correlate with his movements. He accepted the routes that were shown to him, and then he was told about these claims that other people had made that were contrary to what he had said. And he said to the sergeant, well, Dave, I honestly can't comment on what other people are saying. I can only give my view.
Okay, Paul. And then I believe the jury were shown photos that the rest of the court didn't see.
Yeah, so later in the afternoon, following all of this lengthy evidence of the interviews with Mr. Satchwell, we began to hear the evidence of the search of this home, and we heard from Detective Garda Mairead Crowley. So she is with the Garda Technical Bureau, and she's the official photographer for the Technical Bureau. She attended the Satchwell home on the 12th of October 2023. And she took photos and a video of the inside and outside of the home. And 3 booklets of photographs that she took were handed in to the jury and shown in court. And among these photos was the stairwell, the bricks that I mentioned, the cubby hole, and ultimately the hole that was excavated by members of the Technical Bureau. So there were multiple different photos of this hole as it was further excavated. And the jury were shown this black plastic bag, which she confirmed to the court contained the remains of Miss Tina Satchwell. We also then heard evidence about the cadaver dog Fern. We heard the written statement of Alan Ward. So he's a specialised victim recovery search dog handler. And he brought the dog in first on the 10th of October 2023. And the dog became very active, he said, at around 7 o'clock on the 10th. So this was just on the same day that Mr. Satchwell had been arrested. The dog showed huge interest in the red brick wall under the stairs, he said, but there was a large settee and other clutter in the way. And indeed, we saw photographs of that. And so they couldn't go in further at that stage. He was brought back in with the dog on the following morning. And he said that Fern became very active and interested outside the red brick wall. And she indicated the presence of human remains in that area under the second step of the staircase. The following morning, then again, he was brought in at 11:18 a.m. where the dog, at this stage, they had excavated the whole area, and the photographs which we'd been shown of the black bag containing the body of Tina Satchwell were found, and the dog went into what's called a full freeze at the bottom of the edge of the hole and indicated that there were human remains inside that black plastic bag.
Okay, so that's the evidence for today, really, is it?
Yeah, and that's quite a chunk of evidence even to hear in one day, and we finished a little bit earlier today. But you know, there was quite a tranche of evidence. I think we should go back to Tuesday, the first day of this week. Okay,
so if my notes are correct, the evidence was largely from a Detective Sergeant Dave Noonan. I think he's the lead investigator in the case.
Yeah, so Detective Sergeant David Noonan, you know, we've been speaking about him a bit here already. He obviously was interviewing Mr. Satchwell while he was under arrest in 2023, but he also extensively interviewed Mr. Satchwell in June of 2021. Obviously, Mr. Satchwell was not subject to arrest at this point, but he was interviewed as part of the missing persons case, and we heard and watched this interview, which is nearly 4 hours long.
I thought it was interesting at the start from your notes. Detective Sergeant Noonan talks about describing a bottle of water.
Yeah, so he was trying to describe. So this is a more comprehensive form of interview, the gold standard of interviews, and he was showing this bottle as an example of how much detail he wanted Mr. Satchwell to go into. So he said, I'm holding up this red bottle, and he said, I want you to describe it. And Mr. Satchwell said something to the effect of, this is a bottle of water. And he said, well, what else is on the bottle? There's white writing on it. You can see the lid, and go into extensive detail about it. And so he was using that effectively as an example to Mr. Satchwell to describe in detail basically everything that he was asking him.
Okay, so I think there's evidence that you saw that Mr. Satchwell talking about the start of his relationship with Tina.
Yeah, so we were shown this extensive interview, this witness-led interview, and Mr. Satchwell began talking about his relationship, meeting Tina in 1989. All he ever wanted to do was make her happy, he said, and if anything altered in the relationship, that the first time was when he left her in 2002 and he went to England. He said that his wife ultimately forgave everything. And a relative named Tom, who we now know to be her brother Tom, he said committed suicide, which altered their relationship for a bit. He also spoke about the death of their parrot, Pearl, and said that this was like losing a child and that Tina was in bits after this. She went through a spell of happiness and they got another parrot named Valentine. He was asked in the interview about doing work in the house in Youghal, and he said to the detective that he was working on the stairs and the plasterboard and that all of that work was done before Tina left into March 2017. He went into detail about the relationship and said that his wife could be nasty and spoke of an occasion in 1995 where he once took a box of tablets in an attempt to take his own life. He said that he did this when his Tina was in one of her bad spells. He spoke about his wife's family in detail, how she ended up taking her problems out on her. He said he alleged that his wife was molested when she was 10 years of age and that she was upset when her brother Tom died in 2012 as well. He claimed that Tina's family members were at times quite nasty to her, and that later in the interview he was asked about the state of the relationship now and if Tina was to come back now, and he said, well, for the relationship to last, she would want to have been in a coma for 4 years. He spoke a lot, so he was asked to go into detail about the alleged violence that he said he suffered at his wife's hands, and he spoke about her, quote, temper, that she could lose her temper easily depending on the type of day she had. She could be mean, she could be angry, other times she would just go up to bed. He said that his wife had hit him a number of times over the 20 years. In fact, he ultimately said hundreds of times. But he said that he never hit her himself. I was brought up to believe not to abuse women. He detailed...
Paul, did he also... I think he also said that Tina threatened to leave him quite a number of times.
Yeah, he said Tina threatened to leave him over 200 times over the course of a 30-year relationship, and that she left him with black eyes, scrawl back, scrawl belly, bites down his arm, cuts on his head over the 2 decades that they were together. He was asked about, the friends and acquaintances of his wife, and he said that he never kept tabs on her. He never knew what she was doing. He spoke about, so he was asked, but towards the end of that day, we saw him being asked by Detective Sergeant Noonan about this family secret that he had spoken about, but not said what it was in various media interviews. So he was asked, look, what was that family secret? And it was ultimately about this claim that she had been interfered with, that she had been raped, and that another person known to her had been interfered with, and that she had seen this. He was asked then to go into detail about the 20th and the 19th as well of March, and we've heard this account a number of times now from Mr. Satchwell in the media interviews that were shown last week, for example, speaking about going to the car boot sale in Carrick-Touhill on the 19th of March, and then how they went back, got Apache pizza, and how they talked, he said in this interview, this is part of going into, I suppose, the level of detail that the detective was looking for. He was asked detail every single moment of the 19th of March, not just when you got the pizza, but what happened when you went to bed. And he spoke about how he ran a bath for his wife and how they talked in the bathroom. He then put towels down on the bed. He spoke about the night in question, that there were few words spoken between them, that she might have said, oh, I love you, or I fucking hate you, or something like that. They went to bed, and the following day, he got up first. He went to the shed where he was doing a bit of plumbing. He brought Tina some tea and toast, and she came down in her pyjama bottoms and a lilac robe, he said. She asked him to go to Dungarvan to purchase birdseed for the parrot. He said, like I said, I've never said no to the woman. He went to the post office to collect the doll, then he went to the church to light a candle for their dead parrot at the request of his wife. He then detailed how he went to the Aldi shop in Dungarvan. He went to a pet shop to purchase the bird seed. He purchased a bottle of Coke for himself, fish for Tina. He had a quick walk around the road to a hardware store. He didn't buy anything, and he went back to Youghal around 12 o'clock midday. On the return home, he said he went in and he found Tina's keys on the floor, her phone still in the house, and the dogs in the sitting room, which he said was very unusual. He assumed she was out for the day, but he later got a jumpiness in his stomach, and he went back upstairs where he noticed, he said, 2 suitcases had gone and the money box with €26,000 was gone. The money in the box was gone. He told the detective, though, that he wasn't worried about the money being gone, and he said that Tina once stated that she would get her own back for his leaving her in 2002. He said that Tina had said that she would get the guards on him, that she was entitled to a life of her own, and that she would get the guards on him if he went looking for her. He spoke further about the death of this brother Tom and how they never took sexually again after his suicide in 2012. He said that Tina's family wouldn't bother her, and that some people would say that, who do you think you are, by the way that she dressed. He said he didn't sleep after Tina didn't return home, and that the dog Ruby was licking up the tears as he sat there in a state of what he said felt like Groundhog Day for 4 days. He believed that Tina had gone to Frank or Florence Dingiven in Fermoy, and he fully expected to see her there when he called to the house on Friday, the 24th of March, and he ultimately went to the doctor as well. And he claimed, so this is another claim that came up then on the Friday, so he claimed that the doctor had told him that he was right to wait 4 days to report his wife missing. The doctor said, according to Gardaí, and we only heard this today, the doctor said that he never said that. He told the detective that what everyone thought back then, although he didn't believe it himself, was that his wife had gone off with someone. Talking about this family secret, he said he wasn't sure whether his wife may have been fully raped or molested. But that was cited as something that he wanted to go further into. We heard in relation to this a possible affair, there was talk of a Polish man, and he knew about that claim as well, but he didn't think that his wife would have an affair with him. He spoke also about finding letters from Littlewoods, Ireland, and saw that his wife owed a lot of money, €4,000, and that he had been put down as a third party for these payments. And he said that his wife, he believed, had done this to get her own back.
Okay.
He ended that interview actually by saying that he personally believed that she was still out there somewhere. So that was quite a detailed interview. We heard that throughout the course of the Tuesday. That pretty much was the whole day.
Okay, so we're on to Wednesday now. Is it fair to say a part of Wednesday's evidence was taken up about marmosets?
Yeah, this issue of marmoset monkeys has come up quite a bit in the trial, and we heard in the opening speech from Geraldine Small, senior counsel, that the jury will hear evidence about the purchase of these monkeys because Gardaí asked Mr. Satchwell in interview, which we haven't heard this full yet, so I'm assuming it's the interview upon maybe the second arrest, that by his account, that we've yet to hear this in full detail, but by the opening statement, we know that Richard Satchwell's account was that his wife died in his arms sometime around 9 a.m. on the morning of the 20th of March. Gardaí were asking Richard Satchwell about this email that they found on a laptop that they seized from his house, an email that he'd sent to an international monkey rescue organization, in which he had said that his wife was going to leave him over the fact that these two monkeys had not arrived. So we heard quite a bit of detail on this particular day about these marmoset monkeys and about these emails in particular. So we would hear from the lead Garda in this case. So he is Detective Garda David Kelleher about this international monkey organization. Now, under cross-examination from Brendan Gretton, senior counsel, it was conceded that this, by all accounts, appeared to be a scam that Mr. Richard Satchwell had fallen, I suppose, victim to. But over a period of time between 2015 to 2017, the detective said that Mr. Satchwell he was stating that he and his wife wanted to purchase two marmoset monkeys from this organization named Terry and Telma. And they basically there were multiple different email exchanges between him and this international monkey organization. And we also heard about text messages which were uncovered from a phone seized from Richard Satchwell to a Mr. James. And they appeared to also be to this international monkey organization, where he was talking about his wife would leave him over the fact that these monkeys hadn't arrived. And a significant amount of transactions were discovered between Mr. Satchwell and this Mr. James, this international monkey organization, transactions out and transactions in via Western Union. So we it basically heard about multiple different emails that were being used on these laptops that were seized. So Detective Kelleher went through these emails, and there was a rickysat@live.ie, richard.satchwell at satch@gmail.com, and tinasatch@gmail.com, and a rickysat@live.ie. It was these emails between rickysat@live.ie to the International Monkey Rescue @gmail.com that we went into. And so there was an email from the 23rd of February 2017 where the organization said to Mr. Satchwell that they will, quote, talk with the general director at the International Monkey Rescue Organization to see if we can figure out the payment and let you know, because they have already stopped all payments for you. Did Mr. James call you? Because we have already explained everything to him. Mr. Satchwell responded in an email by saying that he had not spoken to Mr. James, but as I've said, I'm not in a position to pay as I've lost my job. After what he said was he had gone all over Ireland to try and send you money. In response, the organisation said to Mr. Satchwell in a follow-up email on the 20th of March that they were still working on how to get the rest of the amount. The detective also went back and detailed to the court another email from the organisation on the 19th of March where they said to Mr. Satchwell, you never took our last message seriously. So on the 20th of March, this is the same day that Mr. Satchwell ultimately said his wife died in his arms. He responded in an email by saying, what do you mean by this? I've been putting a lot of time on this, and my wife is saying she is going to leave me over this. We were also told about some 299 text exchanges between Mr. Satchwell and a contact that was saved in his Samsung phone by the name of Airport 3. And in one message to a Mr. James, Airport 3, at 10:46 a.m. on the 20th of March 2017, he said that Mr. Satchwell said, I'm in a mess right now because my wife has said she is leaving me over this. So please let the organization know this, Richard. So he talked about owing this organization money in another message, that he would love to be able to do more, but people here will not be able to loan me money because I owe them money already. So I don't see what I can do because it will be a month before I can send them money. We also heard about text message exchanges that Mr. Satchwell had with his father, or a person saved in his phone as dad, on the 25th of March 2017, so 5 days after his wife had gone missing, or as he had later admitted, died in his arms. Hi, Dad. I hope you are well and good. I just want to let you know Tina walked out on Monday and took all of our savings with her. The detective also outlined in court multiple text exchanges between Richard Satchwell and Tina Satchwell's cousin, Sarah Howard. And among those messages, he asked her on the 30th of March, Sarah, do you want our big chest freezer? Of course, we heard in an opening statement from Geraldine Small that Mr. Satchwell would admit to Gardaí that he first put the remains of his wife in a chest freezer in the shed before ultimately bringing them back in and burying them in the grave behind the stairs.
We talk, sorry, Paul, can we talk? Superintendent Anne-Marie Toomey, she essentially said that that Mr. Satchwell became a suspect in August 2022 after, was it a case review?
Yeah, so there was a case review around that time, and the Superintendent Toomey took over the investigation effectively and launched a full review into the missing persons investigation for Tina Satchwell. So she took over in August 2021, and the following year then, a year later, she said that Richard Satchwell formally became a suspect in the case. Following an examination of all the materials to date gathered in the missing persons case, she formed the view that Tina Satchwell was no longer a living person. She said there were reasonable grounds then for a more invasive search, she said, of the Satchwell home, and she sought this warrant before a district court judge in September of 2023. She cited in her application, well, structural changes that had been made to the home, and that Gardaí needed to knock down walls and conduct a more invasive search than they had all the way back in June of 2017 in the original investigation. She was asked under cross-examination about the previous investigation and why didn't they do this, and she said that she can't speak for the thoughts and actions of the previous investigation. She can only speak about her own investigation that she led. So she was asked about that investigation, and that investigation effectively commenced in 2021. We also heard just kind of the back end of Detective Sergeant Noonan's evidence, and he was asked about that June 2021 interview that we've been speaking quite a bit about, and as I said, it was a detailed interview, whether at that point Gardaí considered Richard Satchwell to be a suspect, and he said that no, they didn't, and it was still a missing persons case at that stage.
And just one last bit of evidence, I believe there may have been in that day, was that there was they were able to track a phone connected to Mr. Satchwell from the 19th of March to the 26th of March, and there was evidence of where that phone travelled for that week roughly.
Yes, evidence was given. So as I've kind of outlined a bit already, I was put to Mr. Satchwell in his arrest that Gardaí were able to obtain Google Map data from this phone, and through that then Detective Garda Kelleher was able to map out multiple journeys of this device from the 19th to the 26th of March 2017, and we were shown in detail the movement of this device every day. And so, on the Friday it moved between Youghal and Fermoy, where Mr. Satchwell, had gone to the Garda station and to the doctor, that it didn't really move much from the house after the 20th. So the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, it didn't really move all that much. That was that was much of the day actually on that particular day. The movements of that phone, various different copies of that Google Map data was given to the jury, and it was put up on a screen for everybody to look at, and we went through each and every one of them. I just want to mention in particular the 20th of March that the device, according to the Google Map data, travelled to Youghal Post Office at 11:16 a.m. Before it returned to Grattan Street at 11:20 a.m. and it remained there for an hour and 28 minutes. It later left, then went towards Grange Church, which is where Mr. Satchwell said he went and lit the candle for the parrot at 1:08 p.m. Before it then headed to the Aldi in Dungarvan, where it remained for 8 minutes before it was tracked coming back over the Youghal Bridge at 1:49 p.m. It then went to the Strand in Youghal, where it remained for 40 minutes, the court heard, before returning to the Grattan Street address at 2:47 p.m. And so it left the house the next day for a short period of time, but as I said, it didn't really move at all then until the Friday, the 24th of March, when the device went to Fermoy.
Okay, so that was Wednesday wrapped up, was it?
That was Wednesday wrapped up, and then we got into the first half of that 2-hour 47-minute Garda interview on Thursday. Okay, so
what did sorry, just to clarify, was the interview played to the jury and yourselves?
Yes. So this interview was the arrest interview on the 10th of October 2023, and as I said, I've detailed some of the latter half of that was played today, Friday, but the first 2 hours of it were shown on Thursday. So it was first explained to the court about the arrest process of Mr. Satchwell. So Detective Garda Kelleher explained that he went to the address on Grattan Street at 5 p.m. on the 10th of October, and that he informed Mr. Satchwell that his house was being searched and showed him the warrant. 6 minutes later, he arrested him on suspicion of the murder of his wife, Tina Satchwell. He was cautioned. He said nothing after the caution. He was brought to Cove Garda Station, and then we were shown this interview, which began at 8:05 p.m. that night. So they went into a lot of detail in this interview, similar to the June 2021 interview. It was a detailed interview by Detective Sergeant Noonan and his colleague. And in the interview, Mr. Satchwell said that his wife cried in his arms on the 19th of March and that the following day she was gone. I can't say if the tears were because of depression or planning to leave the 30-year relationship, he said. He also spoke about the violence again and said that he suffered in silence as his wife hit him hundreds of times over 30 years. He said his wife Tina could fly off the handle a few hundred times. He said there were times that he'd hide in the attic from her family when they visited, and that he sometimes didn't turn up to work because of the way that he looked.
And did he say that he once tried to take his own life over this alleged abuse?
Yeah, this came up in the 2021 interview. It came up again in this interview where he said that because he was asked to describe the worst incident, and he said the worst incident happened in 1994 or 1995 when his wife had to call a doctor for me because I was laying flat on the floor after taking an overdose. He said that the doctor told his wife that he hadn't taken enough to actually kill himself and that he could vaguely remember waking up for food which he couldn't eat. And he was told by the doctor that he could either stay put or he could leave his wife. He said, I put up with it. I suffered in silence.
So that was what he said was the worst incident. I think he was asked about the last or the latest incident. That was early 2017.
Yeah, I made a small reference to this earlier, just that he said in December 2016 or January 2017, he said his wife chucked a lamp at him. He was asked about his wife's behaviour and he said, I'm not a psychiatrist, but she could be sitting there one moment. So he pointed to the detective and said she could be sitting there like you one moment and the next she could be on top of me and be belting into me. We saw, as I said, a lot of this interview, and he was asked first at the very beginning, I meant to mention this, do you know the reason why you're here today? And he said, I'm being asked questions about Tina, basically. He was asked about the caution and if he understood it, and he said, it means whatever I say will be used against me. Detective Noonan said, it won't necessarily be used against you, it'll be used in evidence. He was asked if he was aware of the reasons for his arrest, and he said, yeah, I don't understand them, but I'm aware of them. He was asked, did he know about the offence that he was under arrest for? And he said, alleged offence. And he went on to tell the Gardaí then just to ask him the questions. So he was asked about the work on the house on the 20th, and he made Tina the tea and toast. He went to the Aldi in Dungarvan. He said he paced the house a bit when he came home and discovered she wasn't home. He then spoke about how he didn't leave the house, that he went to the doctor in Fermoy and that he reported her missing. He went through all of that account again, and he said, the rest is history. I've got nothing else to add. He spoke about the night of the 19th, that he ran a bath for his wife. He set towels up on the bed. He ran baby oil into her before he went to bed around 10:30 or 11 o'clock that night. On the morning of the 20th, he said he began working on a sink in the shed, that Tina came downstairs. He made her a cup of tea, a slice of toast before he was asked to go to Dungarvan. He lit the candle for the parish, as he said, and he went to get pet food in Aldi. He spoke about finding the suitcases, the €26,000 missing, and that he became nervy. He was pacing the house, that he didn't sleep that night. And on the following days, he did little, described a walk with the dogs where he was lonely. And he said, my companion that I walked around with for 30 years wasn't walking beside me. He was asked about what he did in those days, and he said, I tried to busy myself. I'd like to say my head was straight and I was doing everything routinely, but I wasn't. He said, he was asked about were there any signs that she was going to leave, and he said there were telltale signs in hindsight that his wife went from being a very avid bill payer to not being a very avid bill payer. She left unpaid Littlewood's payments, that she'd left an unpaid ESB bill. So later then that day, we heard evidence from multiple witnesses who said that they had gone to car boot sales and that they had met Richard Satchwell at these car boot sales, and in particular car boot sales in April of 2017. And these witnesses said that Richard Satchwell said to them that his wife was very sick, that she was being cared for in England, and that he was selling her boots to raise money to renovate a house that they had. We also heard a small bit of evidence about this done deal ad for the chest freezer and how a Garda looked at that in August of 2017. And we heard that the ad read, large chest freezer, free to take away, working perfect, just needs a clean, giving away because I need the space.
And that's us, is it?
I think that's us. I probably have neglected a lot, but you've got you've got a lot of the highlights of what we've heard over the past 4 days there today, and the trial continues next Monday.
Okay, and there was an indication at the start of the trial. Was it going to last 5 or 6 weeks? Was it?
We were told it could last up to 6 weeks, and today Geraldine Small told the jury that we were at the next phase of the particular of the investigation, where we had gone to the point of the house being searched and the body found. So that is the part of the prosecution case that we have now ended up at.
Okay, so today's Friday, so I take it it's back on Monday. It's not a bank holiday.
Back on Monday, 11 o'clock.
Okay, and we will have another report next week.
We will. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks very much.